What's up, guys, and welcome back to another weapon review. This time I'll be reviewing the Tier 11 Modmaster H weapons, and I'll be reviewing my personal account of the SPAS 200, the legendary shotgun, which I will get to in a bit. As you can see, they've rearranged the classes, so I'll be starting with Recon this time. And of course, most of you already have the Tier 11 Modmaster H weapon, so it's not a question, as it usually is with the limited edition ones, of whether or not you're going to purchase it or not. I mean, normally I would say, do I recommend this weapon? No, don't waste your money, or do. You already have the weapon, so I'm just going to give you my views, my opinions, and we can also talk about potential limited edition weapons of the Modmaster variety, or maybe something completely new. Everyone who has the AK series, you know that they all received a bit of a buff. The AK now, for example, has a little bit more control, 28 control, but you know it still has the same problems that it always had. That is fucking horrible horizontal recoil. You know, it just kind of jumps. I'm not really controlling it, but it is a little bit better than it used to be, but yeah, it's still got serious issues, and yeah, not really my preference. But we're going to talk about the CPWH. Basically, when it comes to SMGs these days, I pretty much always run a short barrel, and the reason is simple, just DPS. Generally speaking, SMGs are low DPS weapons, and this has about, with the short barrel, you have 38 damage, 1,000 fire rate. That's about 633 DPS. Now, it's true that DPS isn't everything. DPS is not necessarily the most important metric in the game, but it is very relevant. And if you put on, say, a long barrel, which, you know, some people, they make that work, you're kind of getting a similar setup, basically, to the MP5H. You know, very controllable, and you're kind of getting a bit of a sort of a buffed MP5H because it has the burst mode and it has 50 rounds. However, as I said, I always run the short barrel these days. If there were a limited edition that had a long barrel and was really good, I'd probably use it, but you know, I think the short barrel is better. After all, with this sort of weapon, you're not really using it for long-range engagements. And if you really need to, you can just burst fire mode. All right. Of course, the weakness of this weapon is it doesn't have that additional critical chance that so many recon weapons have. This is still my favorite, the CBJ MSH SV Oni, MP5H with short barrel Modmaster. The FC variety actually has less DPS, less damage than the Modmaster, so not exactly the best idea. But yeah, this is it's a solid SMG, 50 rounds a clip. You can't really complain. High fire rate. Still prefer the CBJ ultimately, but I'm just more of a high damage, slower fire rate kind of guy usually. But let's move on to the sniper rifle. What you have here with the setup I have at the moment is essentially what you used to have before they nerfed the jungle KSVK. All right. So I'll put a short barrel on, a special muzzle brake, grip. Basically, if I remember right, it was 164 damage at the time. And you're basically getting the same weapon as the old jungle, minus the silencer. I don't really care about silencers. And a little bit faster reload rate. So, same armor piercing, 65%, etc. So it's kind of the resurrection of the old KSVK sniper. And, I mean, the strength of this, apart from the raw damage, obviously, because most things, even assaults, with a body shot will be KO'd. 167, most assaults will drop from that, right, is the fact that you can put a grip on it and you're not limited to just a bipod. You know, I'm not exactly the best sniper, but anyone who's ever sniped knows that the sway with a bipod, you know, just standing there, I mean, you can see there's still some sway, but it's a lot worse. So if we were, say, just put on a bipod, which I didn't even bother, but we can just test the difference, right? You can just see the sway is actually significantly worse. I mean, yeah, you can control it, but anytime, I mean, the policy, if you look at, say, elite snipers of the game, I mean, Kylar comes to mind. He's the only one, really. Everyone who has the option takes the preference of a grip, right, as opposed to a bipod. And yeah, I mean, the long barrel damage is insane. You know, 180 damage, but the reload time is, you know, really slow. But even at this range, this was a ballistic suit. If you let's go for a body shot, 180. There's nothing, at least without a death streak, that's going to survive that. You know, 100 meters, 179, but the reload time is insane. So not really worth it. Now, I don't snipe very much, but I actually think this is a very good sniper. But, you know, if you were to compare the M24H with that one, yeah, obviously the fire rate is vastly superior, but the damage is, you're not going to be able to KO everything. So that can be important if you snipe a lot, right? And frankly speaking, I think most people are still going to be using the Blackguard sniper, which I can't seem to find right now, but yeah. The Blackguard being there we go. This is obviously still, I mean, if you look at Kylar, the sniper of choice. It's just the reload rate is so much faster. And if you're really good, you know, you can get most enemies pretty quickly. Obviously, these kinds of shots are gonna KO everything except assaults, but fire rate makes up for it. But those are just my views. I think the KSVK short barrel grip is a very solid sniper weapon. I think the CPWH is, it's good. You know, it's not really my preference. It's not my taste, but it's good. I'm not going to deny that. A little bit lacking the DPS department. I was hoping for something with a bit more DPS, but it's solid. It's definitely good. And then, of course, finally, we have the AKS. Once again, not really, nothing changed about it. A little bit more control, but not really worth it. And then, of course, we have the Red Hawk H, but I think the Oni is vastly superior just because of the mechanics compared to it. So I just still always run the Oni on basically everything. Moving on to Assault. Well, you can see I'll start with the SPAS 200. So, yeah, I went on a shopping spree again the other day, and I managed to get the SPAS 200 for both Assault and for support. I don't really use shotguns much for support these days, so it's pretty much for Assault that I'm using it. As you can see, it's got really nice stats, 215 damage, 150 fire rate, pretty good fire rate, 22 accuracy, very high for a shotgun, 40% armor piercing, and most importantly, only 5 pellets. So let's start to test this to show you how powerful it is with the ultralight, which doesn't offer the same protection level. So we put in Magnum. Remember, the 5 pellets mean there's going to be a tighter spread, and the damage is going to be concentrated more in each of the pellets than the conventional shotgun. Of course, the conventional shotgun has 8 pellets, which means that the damage is spread out more between the different pellets, and so you have less overall damage. So, see at this range, if I can kill myself in the firing range with one shot. Yeah. I don't think there's a single shotgun in the game that can do that. Maybe there's one other, but as you can see, yeah. And if you move further back, let's see if it's still effective. Yep. Further back. Yep. And finally, as far back as possible. Yep. So, admittedly, I was getting crit shots, but I have maximum shotgun proficiency. You can see that that's at least 30 meters right there, I think. You know? It's just, it's pretty crazy. Now, let's try to get a crit shot at close range. You see the kind of damage in the head you get. I don't know why they didn't kill it, but you're doing 68. You know, that's... And even if it's not one shot at longer ranges, it's still basically 2 shots. All right. And even at 60 meters, you can kind of still use it. Behind cover. 116 headshot, 2 shots, dead. So you can see it's kind of like a sniper shotgun, and the fire rate's good enough to, you know, you can still take on multiple opponents. Because of the 40% armor piercing, because of the 5 pellets as opposed to 8. There, at this range, especially if this, you know, this is like Tomsk range or behind the boxes or pipes or whatever, nothing's going to survive this. Nothing. Doesn't matter ballistic. Well, let's test it with ballistic. Now I have a nice ballistic setup, 100, and you can see the stats: 170 health, 28% armor, damage mit's very high, etc. What happens if I use the SPAS 200 at close ranges? As you can see, it's pretty much as good as you can get for an armor setup. You know, just body shot, dead. Headshot, dead anyway, but we'll do it just for practice. Right? Even at that range. This is ballistic. This is not ultralight. Let's see at this range. Yeah, even at this range. A little further back. Yeah, very tight. So you can see it's just... the shotgun is insanely powerful. Probably the best shotgun in the game. And of course, because it's a SPAS variant, right, you can... you can... If you need to reload, let's say an enemy's coming around the corner, boom, right? Reload, boom, right? So that's with ballistic, with, as you can see, very high damage mitigation, obviously high armor, high health, 170, and I'm still killing myself at 20, 30 meters. Obviously, this is legendary, not everyone's going to get it, but I thought I'd just offer you a review of just, you know, this is definitely the best shotgun in the game. I really love it, and I like using shotguns, obviously, because maximum proficiency, you can see. But let's talk about the other shotgun, which is more accessible. Now, the SPAS 200 does lack one thing that the Cause H has, and that is it's semi-automatic, and the Cause H is fully automatic. I'd basically say this is an improved version, improved shotgun of the M3A1 ACR. I use a long barrel because more accuracy, and yeah, even, you know, it's still pretty powerful. Obviously, you know, if you go longer ranges, it loses a lot. You know, I can't, because of the lack of accuracy and the more pellets. You can't do the things that you're doing with the SPAS 200. Not even close, especially at longer ranges, because the spread is just too big. But the main thing is that it's semi-automatic, right? And so, very effective shotgun, very effective, and pretty much just an improved version of the M3A1 ACR, but with more armor piercing. I mean, 40% is great, but 25% is also really nice. And this has 25% armor piercing, fully automatic, good fire rate at 180, damage 210, etc. So, solid shotgun. M28H, you know, I used to like the M28H a lot. I still kind of do. I like the sound of it. It sounds really cool. It has a, you know, it's a kind of a heavy sound, right? But as much as I like this, and I have been using it, I like to use the long barrel. Let me tell you why, actually. Let's talk about the setups first. For some reason, I don't know what Ubisoft did, you can see that the differences in damage are dramatic. It used to be basically a difference of 2, but if you go from long barrel to medium, it drops 3. And if you go from medium to short, it drops 3 again, so you're going all the way down to 55. Now, I think the short barrel setup on the Modmaster M28H is terrible. Why? Well, you can look at the damage, right? And you look at the fire rate, 680. The Tier 9 AK12 ACR has a 670 fire rate, same damage, so you're just missing a little bit. It is more accurate. It is more stable. It's got the burst mode. It's got tons of ammunition, a huge clip. There's absolutely no point of using the M28H, in my opinion, with a short barrel. Now, the story does change quite a bit. With a medium, you're kind of getting sort of the best of both worlds. You're getting a little bit more fire rate, a little bit more control, a little more accuracy. And I've seen a lot of people, a lot of players, run the M28H with the short medium barrel. Like I said, I think the short barrel is worthless. There are just so many better choices that'll give you just a lot more fire rate, better control. But I think you could definitely recommend the medium barrel. I personally run the long barrel. Now, yeah, the fire rate is fucking atrocious. It's terrible, 580. I mean, that's so tier 5, right? But there's no other assault rifle with that kind of damage output, 661. And it is exceptionally stable, even at long ranges. That is very, very controllable. And yeah, it definitely lacks fire rate. But I don't think this weapon, especially with the long barrel, is meant for you to, run into CQC and just mowing everything down at 3 meters. I do think this is, more or less for long range engagements, and that's how I kind of use it. You can fire tap it at longer ranges, and it's very effective. You can see the headshots are powerful. The high damage per bullet, especially at medium and long ranges, make up for the lack of fire rate. But that said, it lacks fire rate. I would love to see another 50 fire rate on this, and this thing would just be beastly, at least for the assault. Because we all know assault weapons suck compared to others, especially support, but I like this weapon. I use it with a long barrel, but yeah, there are better choices for CQC. I mean, certainly the ACR, BKG, shotguns. Often I've used this as quite a nice setup as well. The M27H with a short barrel, quite a high fire rate, decent damage, pretty controllable, and yeah, this is the Modmaster. It doesn't have quite the same accuracy or the same punch, but the DPS is much better, and this is much more of a sort of Tomsk weapon, a lot less control as well. And yeah, that's it for assault. I mean, at the end of the talk, I'll be talking about potential for limited edition, but yeah, let's talk about support. Well, the infamous Type 95, this time it's not the Jungle Edition, and Type 95H, let's have a look. Stats-wise, this is not terribly impressive. If you just look at the stats, it's got 51 damage, which is pretty mediocre, only 770 fire rate. And if you compare, say, just the stats from this to the limited edition MG4, right? That thing is still the best short medium range gun in the game, the MG4H. It's got 890 fire rate with the same damage, which means significantly more DPS. Like I said, DPS isn't everything, but it is a kind of metric you can use. This doesn't have the DPS. I'm running a long barrel. Now you might be asking why. Well, with a short barrel, yeah, you get more control, but you're not really getting terribly much more, in my opinion, than you would be with the MG4. I would just run on, say, on Tomsk and shorter maps, short range maps. I would just run the MG4 instead of this. And medium just doesn't seem any kind of pointless to me. But I've been using this a lot on long range maps like Rooftop, like some parts of Nukes, Metro. Robitech is perfect. And why? Well, pretty high accuracy, but the 77 control. This thing is so controllable. There's literally not an ounce of recoil. It doesn't shake. It doesn't move. you get perfect headshots at 100 meters even, you know. Oh, that wasn't a headshot, but as you can see, I've killed snipers at this range, like that, in game on Robitech. You know, there's a lot to be said for weapon handling, I think, and some guns are just a lot more powerful. I mean, they buffed, for example, the everyone who has it, you know, the AK-200M. It's got, you know, 63 damage now, even more headshots, and you know, stuff just drops really, really quickly, right? But so what? Anyone who's familiar with the AK series, at least the AKM, the 200M, the spread is fucking terrible. It's inaccurate. The bullets don't go where you're pointing half the time. This gun, always. This is the strength. It's not in the DPS. It's not in the raw damage per bullet. It's not even in the fire rate. Although the fire rate's pretty good, I think. It's basically in the control. And the reality is that control often, look at that. Look at that, 160 meters head crit. There's no other LMG in the game, or really gun, even assault rifles. I mean, forget the AN-94. Yeah, technically it's more accurate. But we also have to remember that control often translates into greater accuracy. So if you have a gun with a 93 accuracy, but a 53 control, it's going to be bouncing all over the place. You're not going to be able to stand at 100 meters at full auto and do this, right? You know, that's just not a possibility with that kind of gun. You can with this gun. I bet you can. I haven't tried it, but you can probably, yeah, you can full auto at 130 meters. That's because it has no recoil. Kind of makes it a super noob weapon, to be honest. And, you know, so be it. Whatever. It's a noob weapon, but on long range maps like Metro, some parts of nukes, definitely Robitech. I mean, I was killing snipers at Robitech today with with burst mode at 130 meters, sometimes even longer. Full auto at 110 meters, mowing down enemies, because it does have a pretty good fire rate overall, right? And it's just so stable, it's insane. I doubt they'll ever make a gun this stable again. So I would actually recommend the long barrel, because I think the strength of the Type 95, in particular the Type 95H, it's not in the DPS. It's not even necessarily in the fire rate. It's not in the damage per bullet. It is quite accurate for the LMG. I don't know what that is. It's in the control, guys. I'm 77 control. I mean, yeah, it could make you lazy, because even the assault with the M28H, yeah, it's got high control, but stop inviting me, idiot. Sorry. It's just insane. So I can only recommend using this setup, really, because, like I said, the medium barrel is kind of this in-between thing. You're not getting all the control you could, and the short barrel is, you just might as well use the MG4. I mean, the MG4 is still, as the MG4 SP, is definitely still the beast it's always been. Still has the highest DPS in the game. And I think up to 60 meters, it's you know, it doesn't have nearly the same control as the Type 95. It's also a short barrel. Who is this idiot that keeps on inviting me? But yeah, also has a burst mode to compensate. All right. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I think about the new weapons. Now, obviously, you know, as I said, the SPA is 200, which I don't really use for support, but I did get it. Yeah, super great weapon. If you're lucky enough to get it, you know, I think, and you like using shotguns, you're going to be really, really happy. It's really fun, powerful, accurate, great shotgun. Theoretical predictions, though, you know, either next week or the week after, we'll be getting limited edition weapons, almost certainly. And I think, given how lazy Ubisoft is, I don't even know if they're real developers or just people messing around. They'll probably just, you know, call it the Type 95H, who knows, Division SV or Division SD or some shit like that. Same with the M28, which is not on sale right now, or not, I'm not using it right now, but Yeah, or we could just get some other reskin. Maybe it'll be the limited edition that have nothing to do with the Modmaster. One thing I've learned since playing Ghost Recons is Ubisoft is completely unpredictable. Before these guns came out, I thought we were getting tier 10, Mark 17 H, for example, or the equivalent. But no, we got tier 11. And mind you, like I said, the stats on these Modmaster weapons are not really remarkable. In fact, the jungle weapons before they were nerfed were actually better in raw stats. But as I said, the strength of this gun really is, and it's so controllable. It's sort of a laser. It is a laser gun at the longest of ranges you could imagine. You saw what I was doing in the fire range, full auto at 130 meters. It really is a strength, and that's really good for pop shooting, I think, as well, because if other guns have a lot more recoil, you have to compensate, and that's not always the best option. So who knows what we're going to see in the future? I think we're going to see reskins. I think if we survive to Halloween, we're going to see the AN94H and the Vector H and the M240LH, and that thing is going to be insane because at the time when the M240L came out, it had the best DPS in the game, and it had high damage, relatively high fire rate. Just imagine upping that, giving it a even higher fire, like 800 fire rate and 60 damage or some insane shit like that. Very hard to control though. Still, I think we can see that. We'll see the Judge H, which is going to be an even beastlier weapon. My prediction is that we're not going to see Ubisoft ever put out real new models, even though it's possible. And that list that I've showed many times, there are actual new models. So we'll just wait and see. So I hope that was helpful in deciding how you want to set up your weapons. At the end of the day, this is just my opinion, just fits my play style. But yeah, rest assured, I am your reliable weapon reviewer. So if and when the next limited edition comes out, I will be getting them, and I'll be trying to review them as early as possible, within a day or two, hopefully. And yeah, I'll let you know whether it's worth getting them or not. Until then, I will see you guys later, and as always, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.